Hi guys, Bearded Rogue here. Time for the reveal for my two truths and a lie. Thank you to everybody who guessed. I had a few people guess at least every statement, so some of you are going to be wrong. But statistically, that means that some of you are also going to be right, because everybody had at least one person guess it. So, I'm going to go through and reveal the two truths and maybe talk about that a little bit, and then we'll reveal the lie, and I'll tell you why it's a lie. So, we're going to start with statement number 3, actually. I was engaged before I could drive a car. This is 100% true. I met my wife in the Army. I was 19 to 21 at the time. We got married at 21. I didn't get my license until I was 22, but she taught me how to drive a car. It was not something that I learned back home in the cornfields of Illinois, which we'll get to in a minute. But she taught me how to drive, driving around the parking lot on a military base. And that is the only way I was able to actually ever get my driver's license, which was really big deal once I finally got it. Since in the Army, I actually worked on one post and lived on another because I was stationed on an Air Force base. So our barracks were actually on a different base than where I worked. So it was very inconvenient to have to try to find a ride everywhere, and she totally changed that along with pretty much everything else in my life. But so I was in fact engaged to be married before I could drive a car, and I was actually married before I had my license. So that's the first one. The next one, we're going to go all the way back to statement number 1. I've never had a cavity. This is also true. Apparently, according to my dentist, I have some sort of freaky super strong enamel. I drink soda pretty regularly. I don't brush my teeth as often as I'd like. But no cavities ever. Not a single one. My enamel was so strong that at one point I managed to damage a dental pick in a cleaning. So that's just one of those weird facts about me. I've never had a cavity. Knock on wood, hopefully I never get one. And then last but not least is statement number 2. And statement number 2 is in fact the lie. And the lie is a very minor one in verbiage, but a very large one in practice. So I had never seen a mountain until I crossed the Appalachians, nor the oceans before I crossed the Pacific. This is false. However, there's only one piece of this statement that is false, and that's that it was before I crossed the Atlantic, not the Pacific. Some of you actually even guessed that. For those who don't know, I grew up in central Illinois, east central Illinois, in the middle of nowhere. Cornfields were everywhere. The most startling terrain feature was the horizon. We were not wealthy family. We were pretty poor, so we did not really do vacations or trips or travel or anything like that. So, the first time I saw the Appalachians was when I was moving from Texas, San Antonio, Texas, to Virginia with my wife. We got out of the Army where I was stationed in Texas and relocated to Virginia. And my father-in-law and I drove through the Appalachians in a U-Haul truck. And we actually had to pull over because I was overwhelmed at the sight of mountains. I was not prepared for something like that. You see pictures and things of that nature, but to those who live in geographical flatlands, something like a mountain is totally unbelievable to see. So, yeah, he pulled over so that I could just kind of be with it for a little while, and then we continued on. Since then, I've driven through the Appalachians like, I don't even know how many times, maybe 100, maybe more than that, and then I've only seen the Rockies once, and it was a very limited amount of time. So west of the United States, the west of the Mississippi is still a region of the country I have not explored very much. Um, let's see, and as far as crossing the ocean, so again, going back to my time in Virginia, while I was waiting for my civilian security clearance to go through, after I gotten out of the Army, I took a job as a security escort. I was put on a super freighter that was shipping tanks to Germany to replace the tanks that were being sent down to the desert and to Afghanistan. So they basically shipped those tanks out from there to the war zones and then had to replace them in the place that they were at. And so I got to spend 2 weeks on a super freighter, making sure nothing happened to these various tanks. But it was the first time I'd ever seen the ocean at all, any ocean. So, I'd seen the Great Lakes before. I'd seen rivers and ponds and all sorts of other stuff like that before, but I had never actually seen the ocean. So, getting onto a super freighter and then spending 2 weeks crossing the ocean, parts of which, of course, you can see only ocean, was a very novel experience and very fun. But yeah, it was the Atlantic that I crossed, not the Pacific, and that's the only thing that makes that statement a lie. Anyway, again, thank you guys for playing. I hope you had fun. And that's it for today. Bearded Rogue, out.